Hey, welcome. Today, we are going to dive into how you can literally train your brain to be smarter in the real world. We're going to unpack 3 super simple but really powerful habits that are all based on the science of neuroplasticity. And the best part, you can start using them today. Let's get into it.
You've been there, right? I mean, you're in a big meeting, you have this absolutely brilliant idea, but when you go to explain it, it just comes out all jumbled. You know this stuff inside and out, but when the pressure is on, that clarity just poof, it vanishes. It's such a frustrating feeling, and it has almost nothing to do with what you know and everything to do with how you use what you know.
And that, right there, is the core idea for today. We have this tendency to think of intelligence as this giant library in our head, just a collection of facts. But, true effectiveness, that comes from being a great librarian, knowing exactly how to find the right piece of info, connect it to other ideas, and then share it clearly when it really counts. And that's a skill, not something you're just born with.
So, this all brings us to a really key concept, practical IQ. Let's take a minute to break down what that actually means and, maybe more importantly, how it's different from the book smarts we usually think of when we hear the word intelligence. This slide really nails the distinction. So on one side, you have your traditional IQ. That's all about storing information, acing a test. But on the other side, you have practical IQ. You could call it street smarts. This is your ability to convince your team, to handle a tricky social situation, or solve some crazy, unexpected problem that pops up. It is intelligence in action.
Okay, so how can we get better at this practical IQ stuff? Well, the answer lies in this absolutely incredible concept, neuroplasticity. And look, this isn't some sci-fi movie concept. It's a proven biological fact that your brain is not fixed. Every single time you learn something new or adopt a new way of thinking, you are physically, literally rewiring your own brain. It really is like having a superpower.
And this is the perfect way to think about it. Just throw out that old idea that you're stuck with the brain you have. Start thinking of it like a muscle. The habits we're about to jump into, they're like specific exercises at the gym, designed to strengthen the exact neural pathways you need for awesome problem solving and crystal clear communication.
All right, let's get to our first brain workout. Habit number 1 is all about this. Explain it simply. This is your secret weapon for getting to true, deep understanding by stripping away all the jargon and complexity.
This quote is often credited to Einstein, and it's brutally honest, isn't it? So often, we hide behind complicated words and jargon because our own understanding is a little fuzzy. But when you force yourself to explain something simply, you're not just testing your knowledge, you're making it so much deeper. You're building stronger, faster connections in your brain.
So here's how you do it. It's a fun little challenge. Pick anything, a concept from your job, a hobby you're into, anything complex. Then, literally, say it out loud like you're talking to a kid. You will immediately hear where you stumble or where you fall back on buzzwords. Those are the weak spots. So you go back, you figure out a simpler way to say it, and you try again. That process is an amazing workout for your brain.
Now for our second habit, lower the emotion. This one is so critical because even the most brilliant thinking can get totally hijacked by stress. This habit is all about managing your internal state so that your thinking brain stays online, especially when things get tough.
Oh man, we've all been there, haven't we? A project goes sideways, a deadline gets blown, and our brain just floods with panic. Using words like disaster or doomed, that's a trigger for our fight or flight response. And what happens then is that blood rushes away from our prefrontal cortex, the smart, logical part of our brain, and straight to our primitive emotional centers.
And this chart shows you exactly what's happening. The moment your emotional reactivity shoots up, your ability to think clearly just plummets. They work against each other. It's basically impossible to solve a complex problem when your brain thinks it's running from a tiger. So our goal is to completely flip these bars.
So how do you actually do that? It's a simple 3-step technique. First, just notice the feeling. Okay, I'm feeling totally panicked right now. Don't judge it, just name it. Second, reframe the situation. Instead of the whole launch is a disaster, try something like, okay, the user numbers are 20% below our initial projection. See? Now it's just data. Finally, ask yourself, what is the one single logical next thing I can do? That tiny question pulls you out of the emotional chaos and puts you right back in control.
And that actually leads us perfectly into our third and final habit, review your mistakes. This one is a game changer because it's all about completely transforming how you think about and, more importantly, learn from your errors.
That voice. We all know that voice, right? That kind of negative self-talk is so common, but it is just so destructive. It takes that emotional flooding we just talked about and mixes it with a judgment about who we are as a person. And that doesn't just feel awful, it completely slams the door on learning. Your brain goes into defensive mode instead of curious mode. So the alternative is to become a detective. It's a calm, detached review, almost like you're a scientist. Don't say, I screwed up. Say, the email was sent to the wrong distribution list. Get super specific. Then ask why. Not in a blaming way, but just out of curiosity. Ah, the list wasn't updated after the merger. Okay. And finally, create one tiny rule for next time. From now on, I will always double-check the recipient list before I hit send.
You see the shift? This isn't about beating yourself up over failure. It's about calmly collecting data. Every single mistake is a data point that tells you exactly how to get better. This mindset is the key to unlocking neuroplasticity because our brains are literally designed to learn most effectively by correcting for errors.
Okay, so we've covered our 3 habits. Now let's tie this all together and talk about how you can really put the power of neuroplasticity to work for you, starting like right now. Here it is, your new brain training toolkit. It's just 3 things to remember. 1. Explain it simply to build deep clarity. 2. Lower the emotion so you can stay in problem-solving mode. And 3. Review your mistakes to turn every error into a lesson. And the most important thing to remember is this. These aren't just clever little life hacks. Every time you practice one of these habits, you're not just getting through a tough moment. You are physically strengthening the neural pathways for clear thinking, emotional control, and super fast learning. You are actively building a better, stronger, more resilient brain.
And that, right there, is the whole point. This isn't just some interesting theory to think about. It's a practical guide to take with you. So I'll leave you with this question. Now that you have these tools, what's the first challenge you're going to tackle? What problem will you solve? The training starts now.